Welcome to Wickersoft's OnePortfolio, a more lean and agile portfolio management solution. It's designed to help organizations manage a complete portfolio of projects, initiatives, and investments. OnePortfolio will also address the needs to manage a variety of project types that are executed using different approaches, methodologies, and tools. It does all this with an easy-to-use, streamlined, and modern user interface. As you can see here, the OnePortfolio homepage is presented within an Office 365 environment, which means it uses a popular and familiar platform that will promote easy user adoption. OnePortfolio also blurs the lines between data visualization and a user interface for updates and data entry. Let's take a look at some of the capabilities. Here on the OnePortfolio homepage, we see a blend of high-level portfolio metrics, some visualizations on the health of the portfolio like status report aging, health summaries, financial summaries, and even lean metrics for the portfolio overall. It even has some navigational capabilities to get us to specific update areas of the system. Let's go in and take a look at some of these capabilities. If we drill into the lean metrics and the portfolio prioritization, you can see that there's a lot of different metrics that people may use to assess the value of a portfolio item or proposed portfolio item. Look at things like the total budget and the business value, the cost of delay, time criticality, the number of releases, and just the popularity and employee engagement that's out there. The idea here is you can look at all dimensions or the different factors that you would put into place as to whether or not a certain project should be done ahead of another one. In a view like this, you can use both graphical and textual information to get the information you're looking for. You can also use filters to look at things by business unit or by strategic theme or other filtering capabilities. For example, like maybe going in and looking at just the research and development area of the company, and then looking at how these potential portfolio items stack up from a weighted shortest job first prioritization. The idea here is we can look at the different elements of this and get good information and analysis at our fingertips. Also, we can do things like timelines as we look at the overall roadmap of what it is that we're doing from a timeline perspective and look at the different life cycle stages that we're in. A particular view like this might use an interesting graphic to say what strategic theme are these things coming through? How much of this is newly budgeted that we're looking or considering doing? How much is it approved and actually in flight and that we're actually working on? Or what are the projects that we might have rejected through this process? The idea is we can get a quick slice through the portfolio and look at this from the aspects that are important to us at that particular moment in time. We can even take this timeline down to another level of detail. For example, each portfolio item or portfolio may have its own milestones that have to be delivered or different releases and things like that. So we can see beyond the portfolio level item and down to another level of detail to look at when things will be delivered for our customers, both internal and external. We can also look at things like strategic themes or these high-level strategies and look at how we're allocating budget and spending money according to those. For example, as I'm looking here and I'm looking at this graphic, it looks like improved product quality is where we're spending most of our budget. If I want to use this as a filter, I can focus on improving product quality, look at what we're budgeting, what we're currently forecasting, what we've actually spent, and maybe what the return on investment is. Here I can start looking at the key metrics just around this portfolio, or I can look at all strategic themes at once. From a financial perspective, we can also go in and look at this in another perspective. We can look at each of the different portfolio items, look at our budget, forecast, actuals, and what those variances are across those. We can use these filters to look at this by business unit or by what state these different portfolio items are. Or I can just click on one and focus on the metrics around this particular portfolio item and look at our budget versus actual, how much of the budget we've consumed, and the key metrics we have around that. Also on the financial side, we can look at it from more of a budgeting perspective, where we want to see on a quarter-by-quarter basis over the multi-year horizon, what we intend to spend or what we're budgeting to spend on all the portfolio items that we have in our planning horizon. Once again, we have the traditional filters, but we can use these visualizations as filters again. So if I'm interested in one of our biggest budgets like this Fabricam project, I can take a look at what the specific numbers are for that particular portfolio item. Once again, slicing and getting good analysis from this type of graphic. And then I can look at more financial details around that as well. If I come in here, notice I've now got these portfolio items, but I've broken the financial details down in another way. People often want to see CapEx versus OpEx. So here I'm looking at operational versus capital, and then the subcategories or cost categories within those. I can look at these at a very detailed level, or I could actually summarize this up and summarize this into a higher level, just operational but versus capital, or even go up to a higher level than that and just look it up at the total portfolio item level. Once again, I can use any of the budget and other types of metrics from these visualizations as filters as I want to go in and drill into the specific pieces of information I want to get into. Also, if I look at this from a quarterly analysis perspective, I can look at each of my portfolio items. I can look at on a quarterly basis what I budgeted, what my actuals are, and what that variance is, budget versus actual. I can even look at this on a yearly basis as I go through and look at my yearly budgets. For example, if I want to just focus on the 2017 initiatives, here I am with the actual portfolio items that are in 2017 and what the financial picture is for just those items. Or if I want to look ahead to 2018, I can look at that as well. Once again, all the way summarizing for what I've selected the CapEx and the OpEx pieces. From a resource planning perspective, I can actually go in from a headcount or an FTE basis, allocate my different roles so I can do some high-level capacity planning as I'm entertaining the idea or executing on any of these particular portfolio items. And because these are all part of different strategic themes, I can go in and select any specific one and look at where I'm actually allocating my resources on, say, creating competitive advantages and that strategy. Also, status report compliance. One of the key metrics here is, do I have current updates? Am I getting updates from the different project teams or initiative teams about where things stand? This is more kind of narrative-based status reporting, what we've accomplished, what hurdles we're running into. And here I can take a look at not a good picture where the average aging on my status reports is 77.29 days, which means on average I have not heard about any of these projects for about 2 months as I go through the aging. I can focus on any one particular project or initiative and say, this one has been 90 days old before I got a status update. One way it keeps the visualization on the fact that I'm looking at data, but is the data I'm looking at current? And then there's a whole concept of a health summary, traditional portfolio management, where we got KPIs, red, yellow, and greens on different portfolio items. And I can slice these through the different filters like managers and states, different business units or item types. As I go through here, I can focus on a particular portfolio item and get the metrics up here summarized at the top. I can also come through here and look at the health summary of a particular item, like say our Fabricam project. And I can come through and actually drill through a high-level KPI visualization like this and drill into more detail so I can go through and get an individual status report with more details about that specific project. And as I'm looking at Fabricam, I've got the KPIs, but more elaboration and narrative around the status of those things, and also some high-level descriptions and other metrics or other data points regarding this particular project. Now, as I'm going through this particular piece in the health summary, I can actually navigate to the actual place where the data is being entered. So with quick links from here, this is where that line blurs from a report or a visualization, being able to go right into a place where I can actually see the data that's driving those reports and those visualizations and update them at any time. Notice here I've got general overview information about this portfolio item. I have the original business case information that helped justify that. I have different financials where the costs are being driven, where I have labor and other budgets and have budget versus forecast versus actuals and have that all summarized at the top. I have resource information for the capacity plans. I've got the roadmap information for the different milestones and phases that will be accomplished. Risks and issues can be tracked at this portfolio item level without having any detailed tasks, for example, if you really just want to track this at the portfolio level. So risks, issues, and even change requests that come in that might impact scope, schedule, or budget. And even just narrative-based status that we put in, things that on a different reporting period or weekly or monthly basis, some of the narrative on what we've accomplished, what's planned, and what additional comments we'd like to make to help give people a complete picture of the project health outside of just the numbers. And as we come on through here, you'll notice that you can do project scheduling or detailed execution using a variety of different tools. Notice up top here, I have access to Project Online, Visual Studio, OnePlan, Office 365 Planner, and Jira. The example here being I can have this portfolio level roll-up but this could be one of many initiatives that may be using different tools, and different teams have different execution tools that they're using. In this case, this one in particular could have been using Visual Studio Team Services. And as I click on the link to that, I can actually get to the detailed execution elements of this particular project, of this Fabricam project. I have a product backlog where I have epics, features, user stories, and tasks and bugs that I'm tracking in a hierarchy. If I'm doing Scrum, for example, I can have iterations or sprints, and people can be actually managing these projects and the work efforts within and the work items using the traditional story or task boards as they move them through the different life cycle phases, and have those updates feed on through to the portfolio. Now back here in the portfolio, it provides an easy way for us to update these project or portfolio items by going in and just saying, let us edit these items in a very quick, simple way. I can actually update any of the items that are in here and provide any updates to the data that will immediately be reflected in the reports and the visualizations. So as I come through here, I could basically put general information. I could have the accomplished activities for this period, bug fixes, other additional comments, and also have it add to a growing list of status reports, of which the visualizations will take the most recent of these and give us the current status of that, yet still have access to the history. All in all, as we go through this and we look through this, we can come through and have access to all kinds of information regarding the portfolio, including if we're using other tools like Visual Studio, like I just showed you. Any of the detailed information that we're managing in the execution tools are available natively to be able to be fed into our visualizations. So for Visual Studio Team Services, for the Agile projects, we can look at the metrics specific to this particular set of projects that are being managed specifically in Visual Studio. Well, hopefully we've shown you enough to show you that it's a broad-based capability in OnePortfolio. It provides a easy access and easy way to manipulate and update data, and just really leverages a common platform in Office 365 that allows us to use OnePortfolio just as if we would use any of our other business productivity tools. So with that, hopefully you've seen enough to talk to Wickersoft a little bit further, and perhaps we can give you a deeper dive into the solution. Thank you for your time.